Welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. This is a weekly update for parents on all things social media and big tech. Before I get into the headlines for the week of June 17th, 2024, I wanted to thank my episode sponsor, Bark Technologies. I'm truly so grateful that these days parents like me have safer device options for our kids. The Bark phone was built for families who are looking to ramp up their child's online safety. It has parental controls built in and allows us to manage their entire digital experience super safely. More on Bark in the episode notes, but let's get into this week's updates. First up, on Sunday night, Rolling Stone magazine dropped a hugely damning expose on Snapchat. The title is Inside Snapchat's Teen Opioid Crisis. I'll give you a one-ish minute recap and link to the full article in the episode notes. So Rolling Stone senior writer Paul Solitaroff got a call from the head of the Department of Justice last summer. This contact said, "We're desperate. We've been trying to get the word out about fake pills being sold to 10, 12, 14-year-old kids on Snapchat. We're not breaking through. Half a dozen kids are dying every day, and there's nothing we can do about it." So Paul started investigating. He found the epidemic of fake pills that kids are buying on social media, specifically on Snapchat because of the disappearing messages and other functions that encourage anonymity and geolocating. Kids are told they're buying a Percocet or an Oxy, but the pill is 100% fentanyl. Children continue to die at an alarming rate, and the drug dealers keep on selling. The drug dealers' Snapchat accounts are rarely removed even after a child's death. Paul Solitaroff spoke with at least 15 cops, special agents, DEA, Homeland Security, and sheriffs, all of which told him that Snapchat is not helpful or cooperative in the investigations after these deaths. And he found that Snapchat had known about this problem back in 2017. He asked Snapchat directly several times, why hadn't they posted a warning years ago so that parents and children were aware of the fake pills being sold on their platform? Snap's response? It's in our terms of service. Who reads the terms of service? To sum it up, Snapchat is an open-air drug market that caters to drug dealers over our children. Snap is profiting off of these engagements and refuses to do anything meaningful to protect our children on their platform. You can get a ton more detail in the Rolling Stone article and my interview with Paul Solitaroff at scrollingtodeath.com. It's really something you have to read. So one day after this Rolling Stone article dropped, we got an update from our U.S. Surgeon General in the New York Times. He said that the mental health crisis among young people is an emergency, and social media is an important contributor. He reminds us that adolescents who spend 3 or more hours a day on social media face double the risk of anxiety and depression. Surgeon General Murthy says it's time to require a Surgeon General's warning label on social media platforms, so that parents and children are regularly reminded that social media has not been proven to be safe. But a warning label on its own is not going to fix this. We need lawmakers to pass federal bills like the Kids Online Safety Act, which has been sitting for years, falling victim to big tech's lobbying efforts. These tech companies will not protect our children as a baseline. We know that. They will exploit them for profit only. So we need laws to require these companies to protect our kids, and to be able to hold these companies liable if they proactively recommend something dangerous to our child. Surgeon General Murthy also states that parents have a role to play in this as well. We as parents need to create phone-free zones around bedtime and meals, and wait until after middle school to allow kids access to social media. I agree with these recommendations, but I would push social media access back even further to 16 or 17. And last on this, a quote, "The moral test of any society is how well it protects its children, and we are failing, and it's big tech's fault." Next up, another place where phones don't belong is in school. This has been a topic I've spent maybe 100 hours covering. I've talked to teachers, administrators, and principals, researchers. Everybody is struggling with our kids having phones on them in schools. Test scores are down. Kids aren't interacting with each other. They can't pay attention. There's an increase in physical fights and cyberbullying during school hours. Schools across the nation know it's the phones, so 80% of school districts have implemented phone bans. The latest school district to announce a strict phone ban is the Los Angeles School District, with Governor Newsom calling for a statewide phone ban in California. This all sounds well and good, but there's a huge problem with banning phones. It doesn't work. Most phone bans allow the children to have their phones during lunch or in between periods. Therefore, each teacher is required to try to take the phones away from the kids at the start of each period or during each period. And these kids are so addicted to their devices, of course, they're not going to put it down. The only way a phone ban will truly work is to take away the phones at the start of the day, or to put them in a lockable pouch in airplane mode or off, so kids can't get messages on their watches or their AirPods. The reason that schools have not done this successfully is parents. Parents want to get a hold of their kids during the school day. Teachers tell me that when kids use their phones in class, it's often because the parents are texting them. And parents want to be able to get a hold of their kids in case of an emergency. But have we asked ourselves, do phones keep kids safe during emergencies? I've talked to law enforcement about this. I've talked to teachers. I've talked to principals. They all say phones do not keep our kids safe in emergencies. In the worst case scenario of a school shooting, kids need to be quiet and down low and in the dark. Phones light up. Phones are loud. Social media encourages kids to film the emergency. All of these things would put your child in the line of fire if a shooter were really to walk into their classroom, putting your child in more danger, and I'll leave it at that. I am encouraging or really begging the state of California, where I live, and all states to implement a real phone ban where kids have the gift of an education without distraction. Take away the phones during school hours, and let's let our kids be kids again. Let's end with a brief update on TikTok. As you may know, a law was passed requiring TikTok to be sold to an American company, or we will remove it from our app stores here in America. TikTok is a true national security risk in the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. Americans are starting to put together bids for TikTok, like billionaire Frank McCourt, who is working to create a safer internet, one that gives us back control over our own data and take it back from the tech companies. I was able to interview Frank McCourt this month, and I highly recommend listening to that or watching that interview. So after the passing of this law, TikTok sued the US government, stating free speech rights. So that lawsuit is in process. And this week, the FTC has accused TikTok of violating children's privacy. They filed an official complaint with the Department of Justice. So the FTC will be investigating TikTok for gathering personal information on children under 13 without parental consent, which is not allowed. It's a violation of COPPA, the Children's Online Privacy and Protection Act. More to come on this, but suffice it to say that TikTok is in very hot water and deserves the heat. Their addictive algorithm and harmful content has caused children's deaths and negatively affected an entire generation of children, in my opinion, and in many others. That's it for this week on the Big Tech Gut Check. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll be in touch with more updates next Friday.